It looks like attendance is going to be down today. All right. We got to wrap up chapter 5 on job order. And okay, Kayla, you remember what problems we had to do on chapter 5 today?
Yes.
Good morning, Good morning, Georgia. See, you got your coffee. Coffee and ready to go.
14, 15, 16, 20, and 24.
Okay, to learn this chapter, a few selected problems, 14, 15, 16, 20, 24, and I don't know, there may be a few others I want you to do on here for Thursday to finish up the chapter. We will start the other chapter also. The two chapters go together anyway. So let's look at problem 14 first, get it out of the way. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on these problems, so you're going to have to ask, or, if you are at home and you're live and you text me, we'll try to answer your question. And remember, if you're at home, get me those summaries daily. A couple of you doing it religious. I appreciate it, Philip. I got still some in my jug. Oh, you got some fresh right there?
Yeah, appreciate it.
All right, appreciate it.
Service with a smile.
That's good, yeah. Here's my pay for putting up with him for about 15 years. All right. Okay, good coffee though. Okay, everybody's ready to go, I guess. Is Tanda not going to be here today? But she'll be here, okay. Sun shines awful beautiful out there. It's probably about 70 degrees now, isn't it? So I know it's 65 and I came in about 8:45, so I know it's went up. So I guess springtime's around the corner, whether the groundhog saw his shadow or not. And Georgia, what is your favorite season of the year?
Maybe fall, late fall, and early spring.
Late fall, when you see all the leaves, early spring. Now, in your country, in Georgia, is your winters a lot longer than ours?
Yeah, probably. Maybe a little colder.
Yeah. If we have springtime, let's say in March, would it be as warm in your country in March as it is here?
Yeah.
Would be. This country's different. I was listening to radio coming up this morning. Somebody was in some town. It must have been, I don't know, it had to be Alaska. It's 36 below. 36 below, and it had 3 feet of snow in February. Must have been somewhere in Alaska. But now, 36 below, they can have it. Makes you cold to think of it, don't it, Kayla? All right, so let's look at these problems at hand. Number 14, Norway Flooring produces custom-made floor tiles, blah, blah. Now here, beginning balance of raw materials, per journal entry for transactions 1 through 5. Now that is our first thing here. This is just a review of journal entries. So Kevin, how about number 1? We purchased raw materials. These are old entries, so everybody gets to review one today.
Raw materials inventory debit, 200,000, 204,000, and then accounts payable, 204,000.
All right. Okay, a very easy entry. And again, we're just reviewing. You had these on the test. It don't matter if it's job order. It don't matter if it's work in process. It don't matter if it was just introductory to cost accounting. Mr. Almo came up with a new thing on books. Now, accounting principle, I'm using Syncage. And this one, I don't know, is that McGraw Hill?
No. This is,
What company?
It's the same.
same gauge, yes.
Okay, call Cengage, good. And my principal was a Cengage. You know, Cengage came up with a thing, and I can find a man drawer book and a tax book for Cengage. You don't have to be one instructor. For the Cengage next year, you can get any of their books for $119. No, wait, $119, that covers every book. If you got 4 classes, $119 takes you all 4 books. Would that not be a good deal? But now, they're online, you don't have a hard copy in front of you. Now, if you will have no copy in front of you, after paying $119, you rent a book for $8 a semester. You have to have an hard copy in front of you. So if we can come up with something like that for next year, we can save you a fortune in books. So it'd be something like Netflix. You just go to Cengage, you pay down $19, you go in and click on the book you want. All right? Okay, how about the second journal entry, Giorgio, on that one? Direct materials issued, cost, indirect materials issued, the cost, and direct materials costing was issued to start production of job 4264. So you've got 2 jobs there. So what would be a journal entry?
Average working process for job 4263, 163,000. Another working process for 4264, 1870. Then manufacturing overhead for indirect labor. And then raw materials, credit raw materials for 178.
Okay, now you could have made one big compound entry, but I think you did it this way. You did it all your working process, job 63, working process 64, and overhead, and then raw materials inventory, 178, 130. Is that correct? Okay, now there's something I'm missing here too. That's all under A, isn't it? Oh, that's what I'm missing. It's all under A. Okay, direct labor hours worked were 3,600. Direct labor hours for job 64 was 120. And direct labor was $15 per hour. All right, so you got 2 jobs there. Okay, Robert, how about that entry? All right, that's just putting your labor into debit working process, and credit cash for the 5,800. Now, this next entry, I guess, number 4, how about that one? Olivia, I'm gonna get your name right today without calling you Sophia or whatever else I call you. But Olivia, how about that entry?
I have overhead, 68,700 cash, 34,700. Related depreciation, 21,500, and wages payable, 12,500.
All right. Now, on this entry, your overhead 68.7, cash 34.7, accumulated depreciation, and then credit wages payable. And this was for some indirect labor. Now remember, your debit manufacturing overhead and credit accumulated depreciation for factory depreciation. For business, for home office depreciation, you still got depreciation expense. So keep those in mind. And Kayla, do you have that next entry?
Debit work in process for job 63,
23, 64,800. Debit work in process for job 64 for 2,160, and then credit manufactured labor for 66,960.
Okay, now that takes care of 14, I guess, A part. Determine the balance in raw materials inventory at the month end. Now, did it give us beginning inventory? Did it give us beginning inventory? If not, how much did Giorgio purchase over here? No, how much did Kevin purchase? Kevin purchased 204,000, right? And Giorgio issued 178,130, right? If you got that in a ledger account, what's the difference? All right, did that take care of indirect materials? I don't see any anywhere else. So let's just go down to B part. All right, if you look at this, we must have had 4,300 in beginning inventory. Giorgio bought 204, or Kevin. Giorgio issued 163. But what was the
Indirect.
what?
Indirect was.
Both of these were indirect for two different jobs.
12,460 is indirect materials and 1870 is direct.
Right. All right. Let's go up there and find the 12,460 and the 1870. Right here. All right. That was Giorgio's entry also. But it's all materials, 178, 130, isn't it? That's all you would have needed. That's all you needed, the 178, 130. All right, and what is C part? Determine the balance of work in process, do the same thing. I don't think you shipped any out. Worked only on job 63. All costs and beginning work in process for other jobs are still in the account at the end of the month. So beginning work in process, less costs associated with job 63 and costs here. I guess you had those indirect materials, labor and so on. No, you'd have to put in materials, labor and overhead. But anyway, 16,430. Do we need to work that? Show you how to get it? Are you okay with it? Okay, on D part, what was D asking for? Determine the cost of goods manufactured. Completed cost consists of 10,000 units. What was the unit cost? All right. D is asking you for manufacturing costs, materials, labor, and overhead. Beginning work in process. All right. Anyway, you got materials, labor, and overhead in here somewhere. And that's 283,400 manufacturing costs. Divided by 10,000 units is 2834. Do we have 2834, Kevin?
Yeah.
Okay. Now find your actual overhead minus your applied overhead. I don't know how much you applied up in what entry. All right, here's some real overhead, 12,460 actual. Here's some more overhead, 68,700 actual. And then here's a credit to overhead applied, 66,900. So we go down to E part, and we take that 66,900, and we take the 68,700 plus the 12,400, the actual overhead. So we've got 14,200 under applied. All right. So Giorgio, what entry would we make for that 14? What entry do we make for the under applied? The 14,200.
What do you mean to close it against the cost of goods sold?
Mm-hmm.
Under applied will be debits, cost of goods sold and credit manufacturing order.
Yeah, you've got to increase cost of goods sold, keep that in mind. The increased cost of goods sold, your debit cost of goods sold. So credit manufacturing overhead, I mean, you do that, you got a zero balance manufacturing overhead. Okay. All right, let's move on down to number 15. Again, we may look at these a little faster. Cost to the company applies overhead on the basis of direct labor. Only one job was still in process. That job had materials and labor in it. What was the predetermined factor overhead application rate? All right. Now, we applied overhead on the basis of what?
Direct labor cost.
All right, now you got work in process. You got 134.4. If you look at the T account, you got 134.4. Hey, this thing's working good today, this pen. Now, and we applied that according to what now? To say direct labor cost. And we got direct labor of how much? All right, if I divide 96,000 into that, what would I get? 100 what? 40%?
Yeah.
All right, 1 decimal 4, 1 decimal 40, or 140%. All right. So direct labor was applied, overhead was applied according to 140% of 96,000. So if you knew that ahead of time, you would take the 96,000 times 1.4, that's 140%, and you'd find the applied overhead of 134.4. So now you've answered question A, 140%. I didn't know it was showing up there either. 140%. All right. Question B. What was the balance in the work in process inventory at the end of May? How do we go about doing that one? The balance. Have you got that, Kayla?
For me,
Yeah.
yeah,
What have you got?
81,065.
All right. If you take direct materials and your direct labor and your overhead, 140% of 18.1, that's direct labor, then you'll get 81,165. Okay, and the last question on this one is C. What was the total cost of jobs completed in May? Okay, Tandy, you're in and settled down. Now, what's your answer to C part, number 15? I know you.
187,830.
All right. It's hard for a girl to come in late, eat her lunch, and find out what Robert did for the last 4 days.
You need a word.
Okay. All right. On this one, beginning plus current minus jobs complete. Beginning with 0 plus current minus your 81,165 complete. That's B part, and that leaves 280-some thousand. Okay. All right, let's move on to number 16. Again, I want to get these out of the way pretty quick. All right, now 16, I'm just going to review with you real quick without reading them. I want you to look at 16. It's more journal entries. But now you got journal entries for different jobs. So it's okay to have work in process all right, for two different jobs or other jobs and direct materials. You're making the same old journal entries. All right, here's your wages payable. Here's your factory overhead, debit, credit, various accounts, accounts payable, cash, whatever. Here's your applied overhead. Here's your finished goods. Here is your sale requiring two entries. Journal entries, once again, same old journal entries that you had on a test, that you had in problem 14, that you had in problem 16. All right, B part, answer 266, 320 and 96, 1. So any questions on 16? If not, we can cover that one pretty fast because it's similar to so many others. Okay, number 20. Cost accumulation, assigning cost to jobs. You got case 1 and 2 and 3. You got case 1, direct materials, labor, and estimated court hours. All right, Tab and Lawson, overhead to allocates overhead to cases based on a predetermined rate of $150 per estimated court hour. Determine the total cost assigned to each case in March. That's easy enough, just applying that overhead rate. So you can do this with court cases. You can do it with cost accounting. You can apply it to a lot of different things. I know in one of the counties where I live in Buchanan County, they have coke ovens. Coke ovens, they make coke. Not the kind you sip or sour. They make coke or steel, goes into steel. And they use the cost accounting techniques for taking coke and turning it into coke. Okay? And the coke shipped all over the country. Goes into making steel, it goes into your automobiles, what have you. So there's three kinds of coke. One you drink, one that they make in Buchanan County that goes into making steel, and then the other kind that you're crazy if you ever touch it. Okay? All right, so number 20, that's just applying the overhead rate. I don't think number 20 would give anybody any trouble. You have case 1, 2, and 3. Case 2, 3, and 4. And you have direct materials. And that direct materials, is that an addition of all of these? No, couldn't be. Where do direct materials come from? Number 20. A
It
part.
tells you,
The what?
it tells you at the time 100 or 10,100 of direct materials have been used.
All right, but up here, you were just getting the direct materials, which it told you. Direct labor, which it told you, and overhead is $150 per court hour. And they had to give you the court hours, okay? So you had direct materials and direct labor, $100, $190 an hour, and then your court.
Oh, yeah, it's given.
Y'all know how much attorneys charge now? 190 is in the ballpark. Some of them charge about the minimum is 150 an hour.
Yeah, I pay 150 an hour.
150 now?
Yeah.
That's about minimum. Some of them charge 200. They take for a hot shot lawyer, they'll charge you $300 an hour. So, the things are great, you know. So 150 an hour is quite a bit. And if you pay them $1,500 retainer for divorce, that's only about 10 hours work. So anyway, number 20 is not a problem. B part, case 3 was completed at the end of April. And we have, like you said, materials was given. Case 3, overhead labor was given, or hours. And then overhead, you figured this 72 hours at 150. And total cost. Now markup
Markup on the total cost.
markup on total cost. Now, what kind of business is this?
Or,
The law firm. You mean they're gonna charge you $190 an hour, add in overhead for $50 an hour, and then put a markup on it? So, now you think lawyers make a good living, some of them do. But they're producing so many from that Grundy Law School, or market's getting over flooding. And some lawyers lucky, I guess if they make 100,000 a year, they're lucky. But there's getting to be too many of them. But they still charge high. Now, they may charge you $150 an hour. But they may only have 3 or 4 clients that month. And they spend maybe 10 hours on one, 5 on another, 5 on another. They still may not gross a whole lot of money. It's what, that's not 8 hours a day, is what I'm trying to say. They don't get $150 an hour, 8 hours a day. Okay, number 24. Cost in 2 departments. Now this is going to be more chapter 5 or 6 when you have 2 different departments. All right. This one, pine stock is introduced in Department 1, where the raw materials is cut and assembled. In Department 2, completed racks are stained and packaged for shipment. Department 1 applies overhead on the basis of machine hours. Department 2 applies on the basis of direct labor hours. The company's predetermined overhead rate using the following. Okay, what is your predetermined overhead rate for Department 1? Robert, do you have that one? Predetermined overhead rate for Department 1 and 2. He's looking for it. Robert, predetermined overhead rate for Department 1 and 2. Problem 24. Sophia, you got an Olivia, have you got an answer? All right. I know you can determine overhead. Is that what you said, 1550 and 1730? I know you can do overhead by name. So I'm doing a sloppy job of going over it, because I know you know it. Okay. All right, but the rest of this problem, prepare journal entries for the July transactions. Again, I'm positive you can prepare journal entries. You buy raw materials, you put them into production. You got labor, you either credit salaries payable or credit cash. And then you've got applied overhead. And I don't know if you got some kind of indirect. No, that wouldn't be indirect. It's got to be from one job to another one or something. Well, that is for the next job, isn't it? Work in process and then other jobs. Then you got finished goods and you sell it. And you find cost per unit. All right. I think you're okay with that. And D, it wanted cost per unit, rounded 1659. And they want you to try to find some kind of saving. So do you have any question on problem 24? Did you understand it okay? If I understood, okay. Now we're going to move on to the next chapter. Before we do though, I want you to work 2 or 3 more on this. I want you to do number 29, that is cost of rework, which you haven't had before. So number 29, chapter 5 for homework. Now we're getting into problems. On to number 36, one last review of journal entries. In this chapter, you should have got journal entries, applying overhead. Number 40, those predetermined overhead rates again. All right, if you do problem 45, it's a bonus. You do not have to do problem 45, but if you do, it's a bonus. So 29, 36, 40, 45. Now from there, we're going to go into Chapter 6, process cost accounting. All right, what have we got to learn in this chapter? We've got to learn equivalent units, which you've done before, but all of you may not have. And equivalent units of production, unit cost, or transferred in cost, and unit accounting for. Why would a company use hybrid costing system? And the appendix, we're going to look at them. What alternative can be used to calculate equivalent units? We'll probably look at appendix 1. We'll definitely do appendix 1. All right, we've got to do probably spoilage losses, how it's treated. So we'll probably do those 3 appendix in this chapter. So read it. Now, you just looked at job order, so look at the difference up there. Job order, small quantities of products or services, assigned cost of job, and then the units within the job. Process, large quantity, homogeneous products, using an average technique. Now, Giorgio, they may not remember, the week before last, you told this class what a homogeneous product was. Do you remember? Yes. Tell them again what a homogeneous product is.
Homogeneous product is this like similar, the same product manufactured.
Similar, they look alike, but and there's a lot of competition. If you got into that in economics, you'll get into perfect competition, imperfect competition probably, okay? All right, so we have looked at examples before. Construction, your home, an apartment building, a yacht, an airplane, special made cars for handicap or police would be job order. Then you get over here, it's just homogeneous products. These things right here are homogeneous products. Plenty of them that look alike. Okay? Get the name Yeti, put it on it, and you'll pay $50. Buy an off-brand, you'll pay maybe $10. All right? The off-brand, in this case, it's not a Yeti. It just keeps it just as hot or cold as a Yeti. All right? Homogeneous products. Okay. All right. Average technique to assign units, adjust your production costs. This is common sense by now. Cost divided by units is unit cost. All right. Production cost. The numerator. When you look at a division problem, the numerator's on top, the denominator's on the bottom. And the numerator is all of your cost, accumulated by department, by product, direct materials, labor and overhead, actual and predetermined. All right, what we got up here? We got a processing department and a packaging department. We got materials, labor. We got materials and labor and overhead. We're making product ABC. Now over here, we're transferring in product ABC. And we're transferring out product ABC, finished goods. So we're going from department A to B to finished. All right, over here you've got employee timesheets and interest and overhead. How come you don't have any materials over here in the packaging department?
Maybe they used all of the materials in the first department.
Fine. I mean, if you were making furniture, probably all the wood goes in, at the beginning. Now here, the materials probably went in the processing department. And here you just have to package it. Okay, it's already made pretty much. Package it and ship it out. Materials requisition form, I'm not too interested in that. If you were a supervisor in a factory, you'd have to fill out one of these, send it to the warehouse, and then send you the materials. Time sheets. We've talked about time before. And, all right, how many of you have a time clock at work? You have a time clock. Robert does. You don't have a time clock.
I don't really.
All right, do you have a time sheet or you just?
Yeah, I did have time.
Yeah. Okay, you just let your supervisor know when you're working today?
Yes.
You have a clock? Time clocks are most common, but I think I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, whether you see it in movies or whether it's real live, they can take your fingerprint or your pupil. But I had to call one of my investment accounts yesterday to see if they had sent me a certain amount of money. I got a 1099, that loss that they had, so I didn't lose the 1099. But they recognize your voice. I could call an investment company, and by voice recognition, they can help me. No username, no password, voice recognition. So we are moving up. Oh, we'll soon be up there with the Jetsons. You ever seen that program, Kayla? Maybe. Have you, Georgia? Don't know what I'm talking about. Tanda, have you ever seen the Jetsons? Olivia? Kayla, would you tell them what the Jetsons about?
Like that futuristic cartoon.
It's futuristic cartoon. The Jetsons, they're automobiles, Hoover around above Earth. We've got that technology today for automobiles to Hoover above Earth, or we'd save a lot of road space, wouldn't we? So if they have parking lots. The Jetsons just had a lot of futuristic stuff in it that we are beginning to get. All right, so a timesheet, units produced is the denominator. Now we gotta worry about these partially equivalent units. We gotta convert them to whole units. That's why we have equivalent units. Okay, equivalent units is the whole numbers. Started last period and finished this period, started and finished this period, started this period, not finished. We're gonna use FIFO first, physical flow through the production department. So FIFO. FIFO, I'll have to show you how to do that equivalent units using FIFO.
Wait. Could you please go back? The growth units.
Right here. All right, now in managerial accounting, we had weighted average, the easy method, and we had FIFO. Okay, if you had managerial, you know. All right. Beginning the period, materials, labor, and overhead, additional labor and overhead, additional labor and overhead, during period 3. This don't mean a lot to you, okay? First in, first out. All right, we need numbers. Oh, they do mention both of them here, weighted average and FIFO. So we will have to do both. All right. Look at this information here, please. Let's say beginning units. I don't know if it's right or not. Beginning inventory, let's say 100 units. All right. Transferred out, let's say 800 units. And ending inventory, let's say 50 units. Now, could you take by memory, or do we have to really work at it? Can you take that information, beginning inventory 100, transfer out 800, ending inventory 50? Now, if you transferred out 800, how many did you have to start and finish? Come on, how many did you start and finish? 700, because you're going to finish these first. So you started and finished 700. That makes 800. Now, if we're assuming beginning inventory is 100% complete, don't worry about this 100. Started and finished, you have to worry about, or transferred out. Here, I'd rather have transferred out, and then here ended inventory. You'd have to know the percent completed. So I won't give you these percents completed. We'll proceed and we'll look at real numbers in a minute. Process costing, direct materials at the beginning, during, or at the end. Now, usually direct materials are added at the beginning. Now, where do you think direct materials are added? Right here with this bottle of water.
When?
Yeah, when is direct materials added? Oh, it's beginning, isn't it? You got a bottle and you got the water. Unless you put the ingredients in the water. You know, now, Bill on the monitor here, you may put 50% of the materials in the beginning and the other 50% a quarter way through or something. But I know if you're making bottled drinks like Coke or beer, goes through a process, all that stuff started at the beginning of material. Put the water, the flavoring, the grapes, or whatever you're gonna put in to make part. The sugars, the syrups. So beware of this statement here when you do a problem. At the end, during, or at the beginning. We know labor has to be added everywhere. We know overhead has to be added everywhere. As long as you got it producing, you got overhead throughout. Units to account for, units to account for, determine equipment units, cost to account for, compute cost equivalent per unit, and assign cost to inventories. When you do that, you've got a production summary. When you do this, you've got what's called a production summary. Or a production report, as this book calls it. Units to account for, units accounted for. All right. Cost accounted for. This is what this chapter concentrates on. Cost of production report. We need to do one. All right, beginning working process 5,000, started 2,000. Now, units to account for 205,000. Those have got to end up somewhere. All right, 205,700. What do we do with them? All right, we transferred out 203,000, and we still have 2,700 left. That's what went with them. Computer equivalent units. Beginning inventory 5,000. Started and finished 198. Ending working process 2,700. Direct materials, that's 205,700. But where does this 2,160 come from? All right, they were only 80% complete. 2,700 times 80% complete is the 2,160.
Started and completed 198.
The what now?
Started and completed, we get 198.
Now, I don't see 198 up here anywhere. Oh, up here. Yeah, started and completed
How
198.
did we calculate it?
Well, here you take 2,700 times, they give you this 80%. So this inventory is equivalent to 2,160. But you put all the materials, that's 2,700. They would have to tell you how many they started and completed of 198. But we'll be looking at them. But keep in mind, the method they're using here is called the weighted average method, the easy method. All right, beginning inventory, current cost, cost to account for, conversion cost, conversion now. What is conversion cost, folks?
Labor and overhead.
Always remember that CC is equal to labor and overhead. That's direct labor and direct overhead. Cost per equivalent unit. Just remember, equivalent units of production. Now going back, started, now finished and transferred 203. Now equivalent units, 205.7 and 205.160. Divide into your total cost to be accounted for. You got $1.59 and $3.30 for a total cost of $4.89. Now that'll make more sense when you're working. Transferred out. All right, you got to have your cost of materials and ended inventory, cost of labor and overhead, and total cost to be accounted for. That would be your production summary. Now, FIFO, we're not gonna do that one until we work on weighted average, okay? So, we're gonna go to your book to make sure we have all the figures down. Okay, we're going to go to page 224. I want you to look at problem 17, page 224. All right. Kevin, how about you and Giorgio try to work out number one? A part, and Robert work out B part, and then Olivia C part, and Kayla D part. All right, page 224, equivalent units for weighted average. I want to practice before we go to FIFO. Now, here is in a nutshell for weighted average is you're transferred out times 100%, and your ending inventory times the percent they give you. That's all there is to weighted average. But let each of you take a minute and do your problem. Kevin, how about you and Giorgio? How much was transferred out?
344,000.
I mean, it was in ending inventory.
16,000.
How much complete?
70%.
What is 70% of 16,000?
11,200.
All right, what would be your answer? Add those two together. $355, 2. And that's the same thing for the rest of y'all. And like I say, weighted average is easy. Okay, now Robert, you had B part. What is your equivalent units? Now Robert's was a little different. He had to find the units transferred out. All right. Now, you had 40 in beginning inventory, and you started 480, right? Now look, if you have 40 to start with, and you add 480, that's 520. Well, that's what you've got, unless you had an ending inventory. But you've got an ending inventory here of what? How much? 26? So guess how much was transferred out? The difference of 494, if I'm subtracting correct. 494,000. Now, if we take that 494,000 transferred out, and that ending inventory is 26 times 80%. Okay, Robert, what is 26,000 times 80%? All right, there you would have your equivalent units of 514,800. Again, if I added correct. Okay, so weighted average is not hard. But, Olivia, what is your answer to C part? All right, transferred out is 415,800. But she's got to find ending inventory, okay? Easy enough to do. Take beginning inventory of 15 and you started 405, that makes 420. Well, if you transferred out 415.8, that left you what, 4,200? 4,200 times 35% is how much? 4,200 times, well, 90% is how much? 4,200 times 90%, what? All right, then that would give you equivalent units. Think you got a hang of equivalent units? All right, then I want to quit recording today. You're free to go, and you know your assignments.
See, Texas.